Hi guys, welcome back to Stories Down Under. Wow, it's really cold here today. Wherever you are, please grab a coffee, snuggle up, and let's roll this together. Today we're coming up with a topic that most people do ask about, especially when they're moving down under, is what exactly is the cost of living in Australia? And I think it's important that people know, especially you're coming here for the first time, or if you've only just moved in here, it's good that you know the actual costs so you can plan very well. Stella, what do you think?
Absolutely, and I think this is a perfect timing because at the moment all over the world we're experiencing inflation. The inflation rate in Australia is estimated to be about 7%.
Yeah.
So we did a similar video years ago, and you'll see the big difference in the expenses that we're going to talk about. And again, just a disclaimer, these are just approximations based on our own living experience as well as what we've gathered from the internet and the Australian Bureau of Statistics.
Yeah.
So please, if you have a different expense or your expense is higher or lower, please leave a comment. Let's educate everybody. So with that said, I think I'll get started with just the normal expenses, of course, the ones that all of us incur. And again, just another reminder, this will depend on where you live. There are cities that are so much more expensive than Australia. So I think top on the list we have Canberra, we have Sydney, we have Melbourne, and then Adelaide. Those are the most expensive cities in Australia.
Exactly.
We both live in Perth, so we will be able to tell you what exactly we pay as well, just to gauge, to have a better understanding. And we want to be very open and vulnerable with all of you because we really appreciate your presence here. And top on the list, just to get started, I'm sure you're all wondering, tell us, how much do you spend? Okay, top on the list is rent.
Yeah.
And then if you just go on your Google and Google rent in Australia, you will see the multiple articles written. It's a crazy time. People are struggling not only to just pay their rent, to even find a house for accommodation. So there's a big shortage that is happening. And of course, this has made the prices of rent skyrocket. So the rent, we're looking here at a single person living in a single unit. And we're looking at the rent ranging from $250 a week all the way to $550. And again, I want to remind you, this depends on the kind of house, whether you're living in a luxury apartment in Buzzwood, which is very close to the city. So Australians tend to value that proximity to the city. I just went again on realestate.com and I was looking at an apartment, a single apartment going for $550 per week. Yeah. So with that said, if you're a single person, if you're a student, you have the opportunity to look at shared accommodation. And with shared accommodation, you're looking at having a room whereby you're sharing maybe among 3 or 4 people. And here now you're able to pay the lower price of about $250 per week. So the monthly expense is tallying to about $1,000 all the way to $2,200 per week. So personally, for example, I live in a 2-bedroom house and my rent at the moment is $350 per week. As I said, we're going to be very vulnerable. I live far away from the city. I don't mind the commute. So in that sense, I pay $350 per week. In that comparison, some of my friends who also live in 2-bedroom houses are paying all the way to $400. So again, it all depends. So next thing that we might talk about is, tell us, Fran.
Groceries. Very good point from Stella there. And guys, if you're a food lover like me, you better take note on this because groceries can really eat into your income. We are thinking of things like milk, bread, butter, and cooking accessories, like anything that you might think of as a grocery. So I'll just give you a factual number based on what we picked up on the research that we've done. We're gonna go look at things like a loaf of bread. When you're buying a loaf of bread from the supermarket, you're thinking of $2 to Australian dollars to $250. Milk would be $2. A cup of coffee, if you're a coffee lover like Stella, fortunately I would say I don't drink coffee, but for coffee lovers, think of spending $4 to $5 per day. And a bottle of water, some people prefer to buy their bottled water. I drink mine from the tap. So be ready to spend about $3 on bottled water per bottle.
Absolutely.
And then we're looking at things like a bag of potatoes going for $3.50, a kilo of tomatoes for tomato lovers, those who love spaghetti bolognese, $6.50, a kilo of apples, $4.86, and avocado lovers, yes, this stuff is expensive.
Yeah.
The cheapest you can get is $2.50, but if you want to go organic, you're thinking of $4. Yes,
Oh my
groceries really will eat into your income.
Yeah.
And it's important that you budget well.
Yeah.
Take note of savings like Coles and Woolies. They do have offers that you can check online. For online shoppers, I find that if you buy in bulk, you can save a lot. So yeah, think of that as an area of concern.
Absolutely. And I think our average was starting to about $90 to $150 per week, which is a monthly cost of about $360 to $660 per month for groceries. So I really love the breakdown that you've given us, because I feel like once you know the cost of bread and milk and water and
sugar.
a bag of tomatoes, you kind of just get how much you can be able to create a good range of how much groceries will set you back. The other thing we want to talk about is telephone and internet. So with telephone and internet, there are various providers, from the big ones such as Optus and Telstra, and there are also other small ones like Libra, and hence they vary from about $20 to $55 per week. So we're looking at a monthly spend of $80 to $220 for the telephone. So shop around. Especially as a newbie, you can also go for something that also gives you a free phone. It's not free, of course, the cost is included, but you can get a good plan that gives you a brand new phone as well as the telephone and internet services for about $50. So please have a look. But yeah, pretty much that's the expense that you're likely to incur. Personally, again, as I said, I'll give you my own personal experience. I am a Vodafone subscriber and I pay $30 per week for my internet and telephone expense.
Great insight there, Stella. The next expense that you're thinking of, especially if you're a student, is public transport. The public transport in Western Australia is quite well planned, so I would advise you to look into it with a lot of importance, and you're thinking of spending $20 to $50. So as new students, especially international students, you will get a concession, and for concession card, you need to just provide your student ID when you're applying for it, or provide your visa, and you'll get a concession card, and you'll be able to save like $30 a week, which is quite something. You can either use the bus, but the train is more convenient because they go really fast. You save yourself from traffic. Some people choose to use private cars, which I wouldn't recommend for students because there are a lot of costs attached to that. You're thinking of service costs, you're thinking of insurance, like the road insurance, and you're thinking of fuel, which is quite dear at the moment, around $2 per liter. So yeah, public transport is the way to go, and getting a concession card really helps.
Absolutely. And of course, again, tallying that on a weekly basis, that will round off to $20 to $50 for public transport. Personally, I spend about $50 with my commute because I have no concession per week. And then again, we go to electricity and gas. At the beginning, Fran mentioned that it's very cold at the moment, so these ones can really these ones can really tend to go a bit higher during the winter seasons because you want to get your heater on, and electricity and gas utilities could go from $35 to $60 a week. So this is based, of course, if you're in a shared accommodation, then you're sharing your utilities, which makes it very easy and cheaper for about $35. Another tip I just want to put out there is if you're in shared accommodation, try to negotiate with your landlord or landlady to include this expense in your rent. So I've heard of students who pay $250 per week or $200 $60, and that is inclusive of utilities. Again, it might be a bit hard at the moment to negotiate because there's a very the supply and demand is not aligned, because the supply of course is very little and the demand is high, so there's a lot of competition. But in future, I think this is something that can continue, whereas when I came in Australia in 2015, I was paying about $150 for my room as well as my utilities per week. So that said, $35 to $60 for a single individual for utilities such as electricity, gas and water.
Good point there from Stella, especially on saving on utilities. The other thing that a number of people would think of as a luxury, but it's a necessity, is clothes and entertainment. I mean, you'll be studying, you'll be working, but let's face it, you need a little bit of, a break. You can take yourself out for dinner just to reward yourself for a hard week, or buy clothes. Especially when you come here during winter, you might think of buying new clothes to fit into the kind of weather that we have at the moment. So we are thinking of about $50 per week or $200 on average per month. But then there are also some other places that you can get cheap clothes, cheap warm clothes, like op shops, if you want to think of something easier. For meals, you're thinking of $25 a meal if you choose to go out by yourself. But there are other things that you can do other than going out for dinner. If you don't want to spend any money, you can go for a hike, you can go for a walk, you can go for a bike ride, because Perth has very nice parks, very nice roads for pedestrians. So you can think of doing something like that.
Absolutely. So that's a very good. So with that said, we think of those that we've mentioned at the moment are the key sort of bills that you're going to incur. And at the moment, we are looking at $465 to $865 per week for all the expenses that we've mentioned: accommodation, groceries, telephone and internet, electricity, as well as clothing and entertainment. So a monthly average of $1,860 to $3,460. So I'm gonna provide a breakdown as in the description as well as on the video, so that you're able to follow with the numbers. So with that said, of course, some people opt to, of course, buy cars. There are student cars as well, or you can also buy luxury cars. Of course, depends on your pocket. And
Lamborghini.
I
if
know.
you can afford it.
I wish. So the cars, of course, there's an ongoing cost, as Fran mentioned, with the insurance, fuel, oil, service, etc. And we're looking at about $150 to $260 per week. So with that said, of course, now I think it's worth talking about how have we been able to manage the inflation, and how have we still been able to sustain our living expenses, because according to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, they say that an average income in Australia is about $60,000 per year, so which brings your take home to about $42,000. So we're looking at $3,500 per month.
Yes.
So with that said, if you're going to have $3,500 salary per month for an average income earner, and we looked at the expenses ranging from $1,800 all the way to $3,400, you could easily just live paycheck to
You're working
paycheck.
for expenses.
Absolutely.
Like you're working for food.
Yeah, and we don't want that. We want to level up. We want to be able to save. So what are some of the tips that we can be able to share and see how people can manage their high living expense?
Yeah. So we know that this is still ongoing, with Reserve Bank still determined to bring the inflation level to a manageable level or under control. We know that a lot of people will still be hit hard on the hip pocket, and we thought that by coming up with ways of savings, we can at least make life a little bit better for us and for you guys. So also, if you have any better saving tips, please share on the comment section. But for us, we think there are a few areas that you can save on. For example, shared accommodation. As students, come together, get a house together, try to share. When you're sharing, you can end up paying $120 per room, and then you can also save on utility, for example, gas and electricity, because you'll be sharing this cost.
Absolutely.
So rather than going for a full house on your own, think of sharing with other people. And also think of budgeting. Instead
that's a
of
good
just
one.
walking into a grocery and picking what is available, have your budget right. Look at the basics. There are things that you can do without. I'm not saying that I'm not a big fan of cheese, but if you don't really need cheese in your diet, you don't need to buy it, do you? So think of your budget, align your basics like milk, things that you really can't do without, and just streamline your list in a way that you only do with your basics for now until things level up. What other ways do you think can help people save, Stella? I think you might have other ideas.
Exactly. I love the budgeting one. That's something I've definitely implemented in my own life. And I know budgeting can be a bit tricky. We're both accountants, so that can come very naturally to us. But if you're struggling with budgeting, please leave a comment. Tell us if you'd like us to do a video regarding how to budget from scratch. And yeah, I would love to hear from you. The other thing I think that has worked for me, and I had to learn this, is avoid impulse buying. I'm telling you, it is so easy to be carried away. The other day I was walking in the shopping center and I was just making fun of Australian shops, because every day there are some shops that run sales from the beginning of the year all the way to the end. So it's just to lure you in, especially as a newbie. You're gonna see big labels on the door, sale, sale, sale. Literally, I've seen actually a shop that's saying we're about to close. They've been closing since 2015. Clearance stock, Don't impulse buy. And I'm telling you this, as I say to you, I'm telling it to myself, because I have fallen victim so many times. And I think the idea is to try to just budget, as you said, and avoid impulse buying. Of that said, there are some sales that happen that are legitimate sales, especially towards the end of the financial year right now in June, as we come to the end, as well as at the beginning of the year. So those are nice times, and you can be able to know those are definitely legitimate sales, because people are, of course, closing their books and they want to make the most out of it. The other thing that, of course, that has also worked for me is trying to utilize the op shops. So these are second-hand shops such as Salvos, Vinny's. Honestly, I have found new items, brand new items being sold at big discounts at the op shop. So please make sure to go into the op shops. Some of the things that I've bought are cutlery, I've bought shoes, I've bought clothes. Sometimes you can also actually mix very high-end style with something from the second-hand shop, and that just elevates your look and you're able to still manage your finances. I can't think of anything else.
Thanks, Stella. Talking of op shops, I can comfortably say that I once got a Gucci handbag and people thought I had bought it from Myers, which is a top-end shop, but I just bought this bag for $5 at Salvos, which is one of the op shops. So you can't go wrong with op shops. When you get time, please walk in there, just have a look. You can be so lucky to get so many things, very good things at amazing prices.
Wow, that's amazing.
I can also think of, a lot of us like to buy lunch out because we are very busy here. We don't get any help from outside people to cook for us. So it's a lot easier to get carried away thinking that, I can't be bothered cooking. I'll just grab something during lunchtime. But if you don't look at this carefully, you could easily end up spending $100 a week just on food, and also you end up eating unhealthy food because it's a lot easy to order chips and sausage and a hamburger. But when you cook from home, you can easily make that stew over the weekend, have like 10 dishes for the week, and then that can save you a hell lot of money.
Absolutely.
So you might want to think of that.
Meal prepping. Actually, as you were speaking about that, I just remembered another way you can save costs is by monitoring the cost of fuel. So some days in Australia you find that are better in terms of the fuel costs. So there are different apps that I'm going to leave in the description that can help you monitor which are the best days to fuel, as well as the cheapest fuel station within your area. So that's another tip that I've actually, especially with the rise of fuel costs rounding up to, as Fran said, $2 per liter, I have now made a deliberate choice to actually monitor the fuel cost. I just don't go and walk and driving into a fuel station. I make sure to monitor. In my area is mostly Tuesdays that you find a really good rate of about $1.60, so which I've really taken advantage of. So with that said, thank you so much for watching. I don't know whether you have any parting shots.
Guys, this will be ongoing. We just thought that it would be good to share how you can save, but also give you the reality of what is happening. We've got all good points that we would come across, but we are happy to get your own thoughts and opinions on what you really think has worked for you in terms of saving, and any other cost of living that we may have not touched. We are happy to hear from you, and we can definitely do another topic on this, since it's a very broad topic.
Yeah.
So as we say, we thank you so much for subscribing. For those who haven't done that, today is the day. Now is the time. Just click that button and we are good to go. Thank you in advance.
Thank you so much, Fran, and thank you guys for watching. It's goodbye for now. Thank you. Mwah.